Right then, guys, there's been a bit of chat on the old Tinternet in recent weeks and that. I've been seeing a lot of people saying that the club has no football chat.
No, ball knowledge.
Ball knowledge.
That's the terminology. The terminology is ball knowledge these days.
That's quite an abstract term, isn't it, Roris?
I know, it's very
knowledge.
Salvador Dali.
Yeah.
It really is.
Do you think I have ball knowledge?
I mean, I certainly think you do. If I understand the term correctly, the term defined means what? Do you know things about football?
Yeah.
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
In which case, yes.
You'd like to
I
hope
believe
so.
that you do.
Do you think I have superior ball knowledge?
No, you've got the best.
Oh, okay.
I'd put you in the tier list as the best.
Okay, so for those that don't know, we are doing a tier list on these football podcasts. I've created a little bit of a stir this week, and we're going to be ranking them in a tier list. Now, what are these tiers, Rory?
The tiers that we're going to go for are the best. So this is the top tier, non-negotiable, where it's at. This is where you go to for your premium football content. Second tier is elite. Elite is incredibly complimentary. It's where you want to be. There is no shame in being elite. And remember, being in the second tier, that effectively means that you are Liverpool the year they nearly won a quadruple. Like, that is a sensational, historic football team, just not quite good enough. Then it's decent. Anything from here down, to be totally frank, I don't think you really want to be in, but decent is just about acceptable. Not for me is a really polite way of saying that we don't like you. And turn it off is the V sign.
It's
Is that
unwatchable,
fair?
which is hard in today's day and age because obviously TikTok and YouTube and all sorts, lots of things are watchable. So if you're not watchable, I want to turn you off. Wow, you're struggling.
Yeah, it's the sort of reverse of Kevin Little.
Yo, people, what's going on? Apologies for interrupting your viewing of the club. But listen to this. We're sponsored by Super 6, as you already know. And at the weekend, I'm not sure if you missed it, but someone was 2 goals away from £250,000. So close. But listen, it could be you that actually brings home the moolah. All you have to do is download the app. The link's in the description below. Get involved. Predict 6 score lines every round. If you get 6 correct, you could win the £250,000. It's that easy. Download the app, get involved, and of course, join our mini league as well. The code is Club23. Enjoy the rest of the video.
Yeah, and I've got a few that I want to put in turn it off, but we'll get there.
I'm just going to
Let's start
start
off with
my best and my favourite, and what I think is the best, which is Filthy Fellas. Been going for an awfully long time. They got longevity in the game. Some of them don't know ball. Some of them do know ball.
What, Miles?
Yeah. The one that we get on this show doesn't know ball, weirdly.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said
Why
that.
do we do that? But yeah, I think Filthy Fellas is the best just for everything, whether it's entertainment, whether it's football chat, whether it's interviews with footballers.
Is Filthy Fellas your go-to football?
Filthy Fellas is the only one that I religiously watch on this list.
So you watch every episode, basically. When it comes out, you watch it?
Yeah. Maybe not when it comes out, but I make sure I check it out.
Right. The individuals that I know from Filthy Fellas, to a man, are gentlemen. Like Steve-O the Madman is somebody who I adore and really enjoy working with, and I haven't seen for a long time, but I hope I pass across very soon. Miles obviously is part of this show, and we're very fortunate to have him. I follow that Lippy on social media. He's one of my favourites.
Lippy's great.
I think he might have the best UK Twitter account. He and you know what?
Mate, say anything.
Attracts
Don't care what he
everybody
says.
from everywhere.
Yeah.
So like, no matter what section of the internet it is, somehow they find his tweets.
Yeah.
So real.
Poets and OG as well, of course.
Poet's about
Copper
as
90.
iconic. Yeah.
Can I say something about Poet?
Football original, isn't it?
If it wasn't for Poet, this might be a bad thing for some people watching. If it wasn't for Poet, I don't think I'd be doing it.
No, but do you know what I think is a real statement about Poet? I think that the sentence that you've just said could be replicated for hundreds of, well, certainly 10 people I know. Like, if Poet didn't do this, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I remember meeting Poet on a TV shoot for like Freeview. I met him and I wasn't sure whether I could do this long term. And he just made me think, yo, you can, not in a bad, like, in a good way, like, take this seriously. You can do something with this. He's my inspiration, man.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And like I say, I think a lot of people feel like that. So, top tier.
Let's do it.
Yeah, the best.
Now it's James and Flav.
For now, apparently. I used to call it Jaffin.
That's what they call it. No, they call it that.
Do they call it
Yeah,
that?
they call it
I
that.
just see it everywhere and think, I don't know what that
No, they call it that. It's an acronym that means James and Flav. Now, basically, when they started the podcast, I think I was round about them at the time. I think I was there. When they started
Were
that
you
podcast.
responsible for this?
No, I think I was there at conception, though. When they gave birth to this.
You were the midwife?
I think I was the midwife. What I know is, I know that they were going to start a podcast. They did start it. They didn't know what to call it. So fairly flippantly, they just called it James and Flav for now.
For now,
and we'll
okay.
call it something else. and obviously it's stuck. It got a very devoted set of support.
Yeah, I
like
love
it.
Flav.
And it hung about.
We love having Flav on here as well. We haven't had James on here yet.
No,
Love having Flav.
that will happen when
Do you want James
QPR
on
get
here?
promoted.
Do you want James on here?
Yeah, when they get promoted.
When
Yeah, we need QPR to get promoted.
we'd never need what we don't. James is always welcome, but what we do not need is Queens Park Rangers to ever get. I want them to get relegated, let alone promoted.
Yeah, I think we should bring him on when they get relegated.
We should definitely go. Like, annoyingly, they had a good
We'll
result.
get him on
they had a
before
good result
they'll
against
stay up.
Millwall.
They'll
But-
Get him on before that.
yeah, of course. But as a pod, I mean, these two lads, again, about as iconic as it gets in football YouTube.
Yeah. I think.
Flav's been about from day dot. James, again, one of the biggest YouTube channels in the game.
Should we go elite?
I think this is the best. This isn't
No,
the
I
best.
go.
I can't put it in the best. I'll be
I'll go
real.
decent to
They're not in the
elite.
same room a lot of the time. For me, a Zoom call.
No.
I know it's a logistical thing.
No, agreed. No, that's a very good
I don't
point.
watch things on Zoom anymore.
I don't-
It's a COVID thing.
I
don't want
can't. I don't work like that.
it. I know that you live in
Yeah.
the West Country. I don't blame them. But
No, agreed.
for me, it's elite.
Elite which is
Alright.
a huge place to
That's
be. Which is a huge place to be. The
Stretford Paddock. Oh God, it's
Well,
a
I'm
turn off for
biased
me.
here, innit?
It's a turn off for me.
I'm biased. Yeah, of course you was turning it off. I'm on there.
Do you know what what I would say about the Stretford Paddock is two members of the Stretford Paddock who I've been fortunate enough to work with, if not me, both Joe and Jay.
I love that. Not one of them there. He just mentions me.
You're a given, though,
It's gonna
isn't
be
it?
Adam and Jay.
No.
I love them lads. Jay and Joe, where with them?
I mean, what I mean is, you're a given. Obviously,
Yeah,
everybody know you're sat
a
here.
Shay.
You're sat here. But what I would say is, do you know when I've been fortunate enough to work with both Joe and Jay, I think they're fantastic. Like I really do. Like both have been kind enough to come on various shows that I've done, and they always bring it with like genuine chat. Very comical, very erudite. Like they're excellent at what they do.
Yeah, if it wasn't a United channel, I'd put it
And
the
because
best.
Adam's here, it's always nice to give a dig.
I also think as well, when you look at, Stretford Paddock, which used to be full-time Devils, Redmen TV was obviously the first one, Arsenal Fan TV, full-time Devils / Stretford Paddock. To be doing that for so long, even if I do say so myself, and to stay relevant for so long,
Do you know,
so difficult and so hard. And Jay and Joel, and I'm glad you mentioned them. Me and Steve do a lot, but they deserve so much.
That's what I was going to say, though. Do you know what else I think is very, very impressive? You know, when people sometimes, I'm sure you both get these messages. You know, people go, I want to start a YouTube. Like, well, what do you do? I'd love to have some advice. I think the story of what you and Stephen Howson did, like the amount of time and effort, like people don't see that. To go from not owning it to then going through the rigmarole of effectively losing it, to then going through the rigmarole of seizing it back, taking a punt, being out of pocket, and then grafting so much to build it out again. It's a good story. It's a very impressive
Great story.
It's a very impressive story.
Yeah, independent ownership.
And-
You know what I mean? Independent ownership of a big fan channel. It's huge.
And it's what now? It's like 700,000 subscribers.
750, yeah.
Man,
Third biggest.
it's huge.
Or is it
Been going
third in
from
the
day
league?
dot, like you say as well.
So yeah, we're the best.
Stretford Paddock in the best, yeah.
Let's go on to pitch side.
Pitch side.
Oh, whoa.
Mid-side.
Whoa, no.
No, mid is
pitch side.
complimentary, L side.
They hit 250,000 subs this week as well.
Did they?
Credit to them.
Yeah.
Shout out them.
No, look, Reeve, Theo, incredible creators in the space, and Tom Garrett have been following on
lets them
TikTok for a
down
long
bit,
time.
though, doesn't he?
But he's fantastic on TikTok. His little audience on TikTok.
Are you saying
is
he's only
superb.
made for TikTok?
No,
15
but
seconds.
he's a TikTok
Can
creator first and
I
foremost.
ask you a question on this?
Yeah.
You know, if you know the accusation that came our way, lack of knowledge in the sport, lack of understanding of the game, and all that.
Yeah.
Where do you put pitch side on this? Because no show, and look, no show more do I watch more, and I watch. I followed them. I followed them all on social media. I follow pitch side. I like it.
Yeah.
But I don't think any show on this list do I watch more and go, that ain't right. That's factually wrong. You know when the Newcastle lad Lewis, when he pipes up, I'm just like,
yeah.
mate, you're like hurting my head. You're so wrong.
Yeah, he said something about Shaw being better than Van Dijk.
They made the 250k graphic last week. Lewis weren't on it. He would have been fuming, wouldn't he?
Fuming.
You know he was fuming about
that's a great example. I saw that clip and I was like, I know him personally. I like him an awful lot. He was saying that Fabian Schär is a better player than Virgil van
Do you know
Dijk.
like Callum Wilson was like one of the best strikers ever? Or something?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what to say to this anymore. Fabian Schär is better than Virgil van Dijk. It's one of those where you kind of go, if that was the old drunk in the pub, you'd just be like,
Yeah,
I agree with you, mate, because I'm terrified. You're obviously off your
I
head.
think what they are is Soccer AM, and we're Gillette Soccer Saturday. And both don't have, unlimited football knowledge, but they're more entertainment, in my opinion, and doing vlogs and doing
Shaving
music
their heads
videos.
and,
I think we're more
Breaking each other's
football
arms.
authenticity, hopefully speaking.
Yeah,
I think you watch them to see if they're going to throw darts at a board at halftime. And I think you watch us for a bit of football, like real shouting at each other about football. That's what I think
yeah.
the USP is.
I think their show is excellent though.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
it's great.
Also, I'd say you know how
I think
I'd say-
Tom's class, you know.
I think Garrett,
I love
Garrett, Lewis on this table, just like us on that table. By the way, it's not saying one's better than the other. But I reckon if Lewis was sat here talking about Newcastle, one of us is going to have a migraine and faint.
Yeah. I think he'd got filled in quicker on this channel.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if he was to say to me, Fabian Schär is better than Virgil van Dijk, I just don't know what to say. I'd just be like, I'm totally speakless here.
I do think Tom's been amazing for the
Yeah,
internet.
Tom.
For the football
Tom
YouTube world.
Tom could sit here.
I think as well, and you to a certain, because I've been in it for a
Less
long
you, though.
time, and a lot of people. But Tom it sounds mad having a proper yam accent and still smashing it on the internet. It's so good to see.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I'm from in and around that area, innit? So it's amazing to see, man. But same with
He's very authentic.
very few of them.
Yeah, very authentic.
He's very good as well, Tom. I think he's very good.
Yeah.
And
Without
he knows his
Tom,
football,
they
knows his
are
football.
in turn it off.
And do you know what else they have? I reckon. I mean, we'll find this out towards the end of the season. But I think Pitchside have the best footballers on this list. Like
I'd say filthy.
Theo Baker is the best player on this list. Out of Theo Baker, have you played football with him?
Yeah.
Steve-O used to
Theo
play for
Baker-
Leighton Orient.
Theo Baker.
No, the overlap has.
No, Steve-O's a professional footballer. Steve-O the madman is a professional footballer. You can't. That'd be like going Gary Neville's the best on this. Like, of course, Ben Foster's the best goalie. Yeah, of course. But Theo Baker, not of the professionals, is far and away the
Do you
best
remember that
footballer.
picture of like
He's wicked.
Cafu and all that, and then
And him on the back. That's my favourite picture on the internet. That's my favourite picture. Yeah, it was actual icons.
Paul Gascoigne
Yeah,
and all
Zidane like that, and Theo Baker next to him. It's like, what?
I thought that was photoshopped.
Yeah, I know. It was brilliant. So I think we have to give a lot of credit to
Pitchside,
that.
where are we putting them in? Decent. That's fair. Decent.
Nah,
Turn it off.
they're the best for what they are, though.
Yeah,
They
so
are
Adam
the-
said turn it off. I've said decent, so you got to say something.
No, I think Pitchside.
I don't really think turn it
Pitchside for what they are. It's not what we are, but for what they are, they're the best at what they do.
They're elite.
Yeah, that's like no.
They're elite.
They're elite.
You can't give everyone the best, Roars.
What I'm saying is they are the best for what they do.
Yeah, so they're elite.
What do you mean? What do they do? Just being idiots?
Yeah, exactly. So you can't put.
No,
they're throwing darts.
If
and
you
all
like shows like that, if you like someone to shave their
got
head,
serious
mate,
for you, by
if
the
you
way.
like, he's got annoyed. Hasn't he?
They're throwing darts and all that.
Mate, if your take on football, it's not us, but if your take on football is,
Yeah.
if your team lose, you need to shave your head. When you team play in the
It
Champions
was you.
League,
You used to be on it all the
when
time.
your team,
It was you.
When your team lose, or when your team play in the Champions League, I'm going to paint my entire face black and
You know,
white.
it's like being
If
in the
you're-
common room at college.
If you're that, if you're frat boys, if you're that, it's the best show on the internet.
So it's elite then.
It's like a uni frat club over there.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
Are you all right? I keep saying it's the best at what it does.
Yeah.
Nothing is better than it.
And
then
in the
you're
grand
putting
spectrum of
it in the
football
top tier.
podcast, it can't be the best because it's elite. There's nothing wrong with it being elite.
If you want what
Okay.
Pitchside brings,
Yeah.
there is nothing better
Okay.
on the internet.
So football podcast tier list where football influencers throw darts at halftime, they're the best. Okay, they're the best. But for football podcast tier list, they're elite. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, that's fair, I suppose.
So we're saying elite.
We are
Yeah, I think
saying
we're saying
elite.
All right. What about I've been. You know what? They make me laugh on a regular basis. KG expressions, getting involved at DR Sports.
Is this...
We're
we
talking
talking
about DR Sports here, and maybe
DR
want to include
Sports,
AFTV in that. But the stuff that I see with, expressions and KG and all them watching the game together, I think Abby's involved down there as well. It's quite funny, man. A lot of the stuff that they're doing, and it's out of the box, different. Some of the stuff that you see from expressions is like watching WWF.
Yeah, no, he is a G. Like, I watch AFT. I watch Robbie talk about Arsenal, and I watch Lee talk about Arsenal, but I watch it on AFTV. The other channel that they have, I don't watch too often, so I don't really know here.
See, when KG and expressions are on, I see a lot of those.
I watch a lot of the clips,
We'll
yeah.
tune into some of that. Obviously, we're live at a lot at the same time sometimes, so it's
Yeah.
difficult to do that. But I think that new vibe that they've got going on there is very, very good. I
Well,
think.
we talk about filthy fellas, how long they've been in the game, and obviously you lads at Stretford Paddock and Don Robbie, what he's done for the industry and putting people on and giving people opportunities, whether it's at AFTV or not. He's an absolute OG in the space.
AFTV, I think there's a differentiation between. There's a differentiation though. AFTV and what Robbie has done with AFTV, what Robbie has done in the space is actually unrivaled. It's unmatched. Nobody has come close, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like Robbie has built an empire and has paved the way for everybody, really.
Yeah.
That isn't the same conversation. I'm talking about AFTV. The other channel, he has another channel called DR Sports.
Oh yeah, of course I know that. I think they're both.
But the people on DR Sports isn't Robbie.
He's on it as well.
No, he's on there though.
He's on it as
No,
yeah,
but
he is,
in
mate.
this
I see
on
like
there
Abby
weekly.
Summers on it and that, and that's the one I
but
don't really.
these are the bro. Robbie ain't funny like Expressions and KG and that. They're the clips that I'm seeing. They're the bits that I'm watching. I don't tune in for Robbie. All due respect, I like Robbie. I have a
See,
great
I
chat
do
with him.
tune in for Robbie.
I don't tune in for Robbie.
I tune in for Robbie.
I'm
If I
tuning
want
in
Arsenal
for
commentary,
KG,
Robbie.
I'm tuning in for Expressions, and that's why I think.
But it's called Don Robbie.
DR Sport.
AFTV says, well, if we
Yeah,
tie
DR,
all in
let's just do
together,
DR
together, it has to be the best.
They're
It's
not the
best
same
of class.
channel.
It's not the best.
I watch
It's
two
not the
different.
best.
I watch
It's not the
one. I
best.
don't watch the other.
It is
not
the
the
best. It
best.
has to be, man.
Decent, man.
No,
Decent
it
or
can't
elite.
be.
It's not the best.
But we just put in. We
can't
can't put
everyone in the
pitchside
best.
in elite and say that they are somehow above Don Robbie and what he's done. No,
No, but
way.
we're not saying that. We're on about
But
the
we've just put him
content, the
elite.
channel, the football stuff, the chat, everything.
Okay, the
else.
rants on AFTV are legendary,
We're not talking about AFTV.
but it's on the list. What are we talking about? Don Robbie.
Okay, all right. If you include an AFTV, then they've got to go in the top tier.
Fine. But if it's just Don Robbie, then
I'd go the best.
I think we should do
decent
two.
or
I
elite.
think the way to do this is two separate things. AFTV is obviously in the very top tier. that we
AFTV
have.
has to be in the best. Has to be.
AFTV is obviously the best.
I'm not going to lie though. Is being the most popular doesn't necessarily mean you're the best. Having the
But we've
most-
also said
the
it's like
Sun's
it
the highest selling
revolutionised the
newspaper,
industry on
it's the
some
worst.
level.
Revolutionised the industry. It was the original.
Redman TV is the original. Let's not forget that.
They reached a
But
scale that no one else has ever
AFTV
seen.
run Match of the Day like it was nuts
Yeah,
when they were on
exactly.
Match of the
Hey,
Day.
also, Robbie had a TV show. Do you remember he had a
Yeah.
Channel 4 TV
Channel
show?
4, yeah.
He had a Channel 4 TV.
I was on it.
Robbie has. Of course you were.
That's
Robbie.
why it's not been back on.
Yeah, it didn't get recommissioned. It didn't get recommissioned. Buvey having an argument with Sophie didn't get
I was with Darren
recommissioned.
Ben for some reason.
Look, Robbie Lyle and AFTV, I believe, is in the very top tier that we have here, the best. The other channel, DR, I don't watch.
If it's just
the other
DR,
channel, to be totally
if
honest,
it's just DR, it's decent then.
Yeah,
If
I
it's
don't think
just
Arsenal
DR.
Fan TV is in the best category. I think they make some of the worst content sometimes, personally. But I do think the DR Sports is.
I'm the other
very
way.
funny.
Yeah, well, I think we're both the other way.
I turn the other one
I
off.
don't think necessarily numbers means you're great. I'm just.
It's a mixture of numbers and where those numbers came from.
Yeah, but
How early they were in the space, the scale.
nah, man. After watching Arsenal Fan TV for a month at a certain period, you didn't have to watch it again because that's all they were doing every week. It was just. It's the same.
No, but mate, it's
a lot of
iconic.
fan
We
channels
say,
are like
we have we
No, it's
coin
not,
a
but I
phrase,
don't-
but we
I
coin
don't
a
watch
phrase
that
from it every week. Every
Yeah, no, I know, but there's a.
It has its own catchphrase.
What I watch, for me, it's not the best
So
content.
okay, let's try and come to an agreement between us. So I'm going to ask you both. I'm going to separate them as well. AFTV are in what category for you?
Elite.
Okay. AFTV for me are in the best. AFTV
best
for
for
you?
me, the best.
Okay, so AFTV, therefore, Democracy, are in the best. DR Sports for you.
Decent.
DR Sports for you.
I think KG and Expressions need to go in the elite thing, man.
And I,
Very good,
to
bro.
be totally honest, I don't.
You talk
I
about
don't
quality
watch,
of content. It's like
Yeah.
The quality of content on DR is better than anything I've seen on Arsenal Fan TV.
So
I don't want to see Arsenal fans moaning like I did last year and the year before. It's boring, bro.
So again, help me with the average here. I'm going not for me for DR. You're going
decent.
and you're going
But DR,
elite. So it's decent.
Decent.
It's decent.
That's fair enough.
Okay, so DR is indecent.
it's a democracy, isn't it?
It's a democracy. We are now on to
The overlap.
the overlap.
Well, they've got the mixture of the quality guests and obviously the footballers as well, the
Get us up
podcasts
there.
they're doing.
They have ball knowledge.
They have people like ourselves, normal football fans as well. The fact that it's from Gary Neville, kind of a real, obviously a legendary footballer, one of the greatest to do it in his position as well.
And the
quality of the
company, that's the
production
thing,
and
the production value on it. Like, obviously, they're very fortunate because the owner is fairly affluent, and then they have the backing of Buzz 16 and the backing of. They make a beautiful product.
yeah.
Like, you know, in terms of the production value, it's shot like a Netflix show.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
and then the access. You've got Frank Lampard in a pub and David Beckham in the park.
Ian
You just
Wright,
got- yeah,
Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Roy Keane on there every week. So
Roy
good as
Keane.
well.
Yeah.
He's so Roy Keane. Being able to watch Roy Keane kind of be, continue in the footballing world and be able to be the character he is and the personality he is. Because after he left Man United in 05 and he was kind of under a cloud and kind of gets pushed out the back door, I was gutted, man. And to see him now just kind of be the personality he should be appreciated for the great player he is and be on. I just love that, man. I think the overlap's very, very good.
The overlap,
Especially the new,
I don't think
is it Stick to Football, the podcast
Yeah.
is called? I think that's...
I think it's going to be the best in
The
class.
overlap that we
Is it the
have on
best in
there.
class? Yeah.
I think within the best, this is the best, isn't it? Like the best show that there is.
But it's very different to everything else.
Yeah,
on this,
they
in
have
that
access-
everything
they have
else
access to
is
David Beckham.
Fan pushed. We don't have David Beckham's phone number, and we never played on the right wing with him for England and United for years.
It's almost it's the best at what it does, but it shouldn't really be compared to what
What
Public's
should
doing.
be competing
You can't
with that
compare
is
Gary Neville.
Rio's channel should be competing with that, right?
Yeah, and there's no
Five,
comparison.
yeah, maybe.
And there's no.
It's very good.
I think you're right, though. You can compare what Gary Neville has built compared to what Rio Ferdinand has built. And while I think what Rio Ferdinand has done is very impressive, it isn't comparable to the Gary Neville channel. Like the Gary Neville channel, obviously that it has a bigger backing and whatever else, but it's amazing, isn't it?
beautiful.
It's comparable to the BBC. It's
Yeah,
comparable to like Netflix. It's like
I
proper.
think that the stuff where he's with players usually, but whoever, and he's taking walks with them. That should be on Sky.
You know what I mean? Do you know what you get? Do you know what it's done? Do you know the demise of say Football Focus? It's because of the brilliance of Gary Neville's channel. I think Rio Ferdinand's channel could do that, but at the moment it doesn't. At the moment it doesn't. And
That's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah.
What
What's
about
next?
SDS?
SDS
is very good, man. This is what caused the controversy on internet, wasn't it? Was it Cal and Chip getting involved, ranking everyone? What are you dragging us into this war for, lad?
Friendly fire everywhere. Yeah, I'm on. I do SDS, and I'm suddenly getting friendly fire.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking as well. I was thinking, are people trying to make out there's an issue between not Cal and Chip, but are people trying to make out there's an issue between us and SDS? Like, I've met Sharky like once or twice. He's been an amazing guy whenever I've met him. Rory's been on the show. Like, we always talk positively about it.
Yeah.
I couldn't get why people were trying to make a war there where there wasn't one.
There certainly
Although,
isn't.
if you want some, we'll give you one.
Do you know what happened off the back of that though? Did you see what Sharky said? He said Rory's Haaland clip. I think he basically said Rory's Haaland clip number one. Nothing comes close to that.
Yeah.
But he did also concede. Do you know Faisal on there?
Yeah. I watch.
They basically went Faisal was definitely number two with his Bellingham shout.
Yeah. I watch a lot of SDS.
Yeah. Do you know who? There's some like here. It's a good show. The thing that I think is brilliant about those lads is like I think Sharky, Faisal, I think Liban is from the area but didn't necessarily go to school, but they're mates from school. Like, do you know, star player he's just their mate. Like, it really is. You know, Buvey and I met through work. In fact, all three of us met through work. They're just geezers out of flats in Northwest London, and they've come together.
And I think you can tell that as well. I think you can tell the closeness that they have, and it kind of, especially me, watching it kind of makes me feel like I'm watching it with my friends at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're all kind of represented, all the different colours and different faces.
No, like what they've done. Well, the other thing is as well, I think it's important to acknowledge, like Liban for sure, from sort of St. Raf's estate, which is the idea of kind of getting from there to having a platform to being recognised and people taking your football.
I'm from LaSalle's.
No, do you know what? It's where Raheem Sterling's from.
No, but we kind of identify with that because that's what we are,
exactly.
right? So it's like
I think that's why it sort of chimes with me because from an estate and ended up on it. Yeah, I think so. Obviously, it's a generation younger than me.
And I think it's good chat as well. I do think it's a lot of
and good
chat,
people,
even if I
man.
don't agree with
They're
it.
like they're good people. Do you know what as well? Two people on there. You've got. Do you know the Chelsea? There's a Chelsea fan, Sean, who's on it. Very good. You know, when I'm looking for Chelsea...
Yeah, I like Sean, yeah.
When I'm looking for sort of Chelsea comment, there are a few avenues that I take. One is a girl called Olivia Bazaglo, who I think is fantastic. She's a brilliant person to listen to. Yeah. You know Olivia, right? She's a brilliant person to listen to. She comes at it from a slightly different angle. She comes at it, she's a presenter. And she has relationships with footballers, so there's a different angle. And her and I will argue, but... I seek her opinion when there's an issue. Yeah, I had her on my channel. Yeah.
I watched that.
I had her on my channel. She was great. She is fantastic. But she will be somebody that I'll always see what they think. The second person whose opinions I want when it comes to Chelsea It's Sugar Sean from SDS. And you ever work with Liban, Manchester United fan?
I haven't had the pleasure of working with many of them.
Mate,
Only
he
Sharky
shines,
when we
you know.
played.
That's the other thing about Shah. He's wicked footballer.
Yeah,
Good footballer.
Wicked footballer.
Yeah, very
Liban would be a good
We
one
need
for
to
you,
try
you
and
know.
get a few of them into our team for the club FC.
I have to get
him on the stream.
Sharky
Get him on the
on
stream.
the show.
Sharky on
Side
here.
FC, don't.
Get Sharky on here quickly so that they can play for us.
Good idea.
Well, he
So
did
where are we
tell me he
ranking
retired from football.
SDS? I think it's one of the top two.
It's elite. It's
or the
elite for
best.
me. It's elite.
Elite.
Yeah, elite. Hang on a minute. Yeah, elite.
It's elite.
It's not. Yeah, I was thinking, is it the best? Or
No,
are we
I
going
think
elite?
Filthy Fellas is my best. Is Filthy Fellas.
Elite's not bad though, is it? It's
Okay, elite.
that's top 4 lads.
Top. Well, it's more. It's,
Yeah,
it's
you're
top
in the
two,
top 4, innit?
It's top
Yeah.
two.
SDS. Peter Crouch talking about footballers.
Is Statman Dave still on it?
Yeah, if that man is on it.
That's turn it off then.
Yeah, turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off. He also had Wayne Lineker on stage. Turn that off.
Oh, I saw that.
Jesus. Yeah, you see that? Funny,
Do you know what though? Yeah,
what could possibly go wrong? Let's bring him out in front of football.
mate, it was
fans.
terrible. Did you see it? Did you see the clip?
They were
Oh,
chatting
yeah,
to
you're
each other.
mates with him, aren't you?
Also,
He invited me to a
who
beach
buys
one.
tickets
got
to
another
go
show.
Crouch Fest?
I don't know.
Jeez,
Crouch Fest.
You've got to be mental.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We got the kid from the Watford fan from BBC Radio. Remember him? He asked Mila Kunis if he wants to come to a Watford game.
And did she go?
No, it's just like it went viral about 10 years ago. But
I don't listen to this, to be honest.
You're the only person that knows about that clip, by the way.
no, you remember.
Do you know?
it.
There's,
It was huge,
there's one
mega
episode.
viral.
There's one episode that I thought was really good, and I listened to basically the whole thing. It was Peter Crouch talking about how football gave him so much. It was very interesting, right? It's how football gave him so much, but also took a lot away from him.
Yeah.
And he basically said, like, his name's Peter after Peter Osgood, and he talks about his sort of love of Chelsea growing up, and he names a whole team. I think we got to the Zenith, whatever it is, Zenith Data Cup in 1990, and he names a team. But then he says how football took so much away from him because he was booed at Chelsea, treated horribly, and it meant that he doesn't have a team. I thought that was a really good episode. But apart from that episode, it's not for me.
No, it's a little bit dry.
I like Crouch.
I like
but
Crouch,
I
yeah.
don't necessarily.
Crouch. The issue is with a lot of these footballers that have their own podcasts now, and who am I to say, I've never played football in my life to a professional level, but they sit there, they give stories, and their stories are great. Once they don't have the stories to tell, they revert to kind of saying something and then laughing at their own joke. There's this kind of rhythm, and Crouch does that a little bit. He'll say something, and he'll just sit there laughing. You think, are you actually grafting to make a really good podcast
It's not
episode?
for me. Yeah.
Statman Dave?
Not for me.
Look, all banter aside, he's been in the industry a long time. Whether I don't like his approach to statistics. Using that to kind of approach football. I think you've got to look at it with your two eyes as opposed to numbers. But he's been in the game a long time, so you got to respect him on
Yeah,
some
but
level.
Peter Crouch's podcast not for me.
Yeah, it's not for me.
Not for
No, it's turn it off.
Turn it off then. But not for me.
Yeah.
I can't say turn it off because I've never listened to it. Not for me. You two can say
Yeah.
turn it off if you've listened to it.
I suppose it's a not for me. If you want to listen to it, I'm not telling you to turn it off. Listen to
I
what
tell you
like,
to turn it off, Ross.
One that you guys probably haven't listened to, don't know, won't have heard, not for you maybe, is Barra Brothers, new, upcoming, I think. Very good. The lads there doing a lot of good work. See a lot of their clips online, which is good as well. Yeah, man, I think this is decent, but I think one day it will be in the top 2 tiers.
Yeah, decent
really
for now is a decent start.
Yeah,
good start.
Start. They're just starting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch too much of it yet, but from what I have seen, I'm impressed, and I do like the sort of the get up and go from the lads. You know what I mean? To start.
Liaz was on there once.
Yeah, I saw
Getting
that
some
one.
Big,
That was the one I saw.
big guests I've been
Yeah.
invited on.
Yeah, you going?
Yeah, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm organising it with them.
Yeah, very nice.
Buvey, you been invited?
not been invited yet.
No, they haven't invited me. They haven't invited me either.
In that case, they're not
Yeah, in
invited you.
fact, they haven't invited me. Not for me. Turn it off. Not for me. They haven't. Yeah, they don't want us, Booth.
So it's decent for Barra Brothers.
Yeah, man.
Well, it's decent for Adam.
All in agreement.
No, of
Decent,
course,
and
yeah,
it's going to
yeah,
be
good luck to
elite
them, yeah.
at least
Okay.
one day.
Let's move on to the next on the list. Rory.
The next up on the list is the kickoff. The kickoff obviously was once supreme and the front runner. It genuinely was. It was untouchable. Since then, I think there's been a bit of an equalisation. Other podcasts have come along, and the kickoff doesn't any longer have a total stranglehold on that. There was a time, in fact, you and I did a Champions League final on there, and I remember the concurrent viewers were through the roof. Like, numbers through the roof. It doesn't do that anymore. I think other people have caught up and whatever else has happened.
And I think that's right, by the way. I think the diversification of the industry is important because it allows people from different backgrounds, different kind of thought processes. Look at people like SDS, for example, or people like Filthy. James and Flav's got an independent thing going on. Everyone on this list has got independent voices and opinions. And I think Kickoff at one point had so much of the market.
Yeah, it had a monopoly, didn't it?
It's nice that the industry can flourish and we can all rise with the tide of the industry.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's true.
Diversity is important and competition is important in the industry.
There was a time when the Kickoff had a total monopoly on live viewers.
And it was revolutionary in the space. There's no question about it.
Do you know what it was? And still is to a degree. It was... when I was talking about the Gary Neville stuff and how well it was shot, how beautifully done it was, there was a time when the Kickoff was that. And it still is very beautiful.
We did a debate about the Super League. It did 1 million views on YouTube, and the production quality for an hour-long debate, it hadn't been seen like that before on YouTube.
I agree. I agree. The setting, the cameras, it was at the time unrivaled. That has shifted. At one point in this list, it would have, I think most people would have had to put it in the best list, unless they just didn't watch it.
Of course.
Would you put it there still?
No, I wouldn't. And ultimately, I've worked in this industry about eight years now. And I think a large part of this industry, in terms of starting podcasts, filming videos, as much as we're all football fans from run-of-the-mill kind of backgrounds, ultimately, you do need people that know how to talk about football in a certain interesting way. And there aren't many of us doing it, honestly. And the Kickoff, I had a lot of great guests, and I'm not including myself in that. So I think ultimately football podcasts are built on the guests that they've got. And I think the Kickoff...
others have caught up.
Others have caught up with unique and interesting voices in football.
I think it does still deserve some of the credit that it has in the bank, though. So it's not going to drop totally down the list, is it? But it's not the best anymore. And probably not even elite anymore.
How much credit... At the time, the Kickoff was a trailblazer, wasn't it? It was one of the original. It was one of the most forward-thinking.
This is something that's been chucked at us. Like watch-alongs have been happening. I remember Stretford Paddock were doing full-time Devils were doing watch-alongs like early doors, TFR early.
They did it.
They weren't like the first ones to watch.
No, but
they did it in a. They did it in a. They took.
They did it in a different way.
The way they did it was different.
I remember. I think pretty much my first experience of doing live shows like that was obviously on the Kickoff. My first show, it was the season, it must have been like 2018, 2019, something like that. From my understanding of the landscape at the time, the Kickoff was the only one that was doing it to that spec.
And it was multi-clubs.
Yes, it was agnostic, wasn't it? It was completely agnostic. It would be a core group and then guests, and at the time I was a guest. And do you know like the big show that I remember doing in my sort of opening time? In Chelsea, what wasn't I there? My missus was pregnant, and Chelsea played Arsenal in Baku, and the views were ridiculous. It was I was on
like 50K.
I was on with Hugh Wizzy, but it was the numbers were incredible, but it was also the beauty of the shot. How much, when we're ranking it of today, how much do we put?
The only thing close to overlap then in that regard.
Yeah, it was very similar.
Maybe shot better than the overlap, actually.
On some level, yeah.
As in the fan debate one. Not the other stuff.
How much credit would it have in the bank? Like where we're gonna have to rank it in a minute.
Well, I don't watch it. I don't watch it anymore.
Do you watch it now, genuinely?
No, because I'm going to look. Everyone's going to slag us off for having kind of opinions because we're biased.
But we're only treating it the way that we're treating every other podcast.
We're all in the space. We all look at these podcasts, and I think, do I look at the Kickoff and want a football opinion from anyone on there? With all due respect, and there's a couple on there I do like. Don't get me wrong. Do I get football insight from the Kickoff? I don't anymore. That's the industry. And if anyone out there is listening, not in the industry, a lot of them are obviously. About finding people in this industry. It's a HR thing. It's about finding people. It is a HR thing. It's not about getting beautiful cameras.
Yeah.
It was at the time. That was revolutionary. Then finding people like you and obviously Hugh Wizzy and you, of course, and loads of other great fans. But that's hard now. That's hard to find people of that caliber.
There's a reason I ended up on there. Rory ended up on it because we already had voices, right?
Yeah. So
you have to be able to attract those voices there still.
There's a certain
you can no longer do that.
For where it is now, though, I think for what we've established it has to be fairly high on this list. It's a trailblazer.
I'd go, in its best, it's at the best.
Well, in its best, it was untouchable.
We're in 2024.
Now you're saying decent.
It's decent.
Okay, decent. Decent is fair, I think. Next up is High Performance Podcast.
High Performance Podcast had the most low performance midfielder ever on it. last week.
Wait,
by the way.
what is high performance?
Scott McTominay
Jake
was on there with
Humphrey.
Jake Humphrey.
Oh, Jake Humphrey.
Jake Humphrey once said, by the way, he made podcasts. He started them.
I've seen that.
This
It's an
was the
amazing,
thing.
and it was in like 2021.
Yeah.
You know, I had this idea about podcasts. It was like,
He used to tell me no.
Yeah.
It's a silly idea to do the podcast.
No, do you know? I think Jake Humphrey is actually like a fascinating character in a sort of case study way, because there was a time where he had the best job in the world. He'd created this production company. He was like, it was all going so well, and he's become almost a meme.
He has become a meme, but from my experience working with Jake Humphrey,
Do you know him?
no, just from working with him, I don't know him. Because Satan,
When
I
you say
know
work
you.
with him,
I used to do stuff for
met
BT
him?
Sport and go out to the stadiums
Right.
and meet him and do lives with him and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And he's one of the nicest guys I've met in that kind of scenario.
Is he?
Like, I remember the BT Sport van was there and he was like, oh, if you want some food, you come with me, sit on the BT. You know, like
Yeah.
just little simple things like that are very simple. But when you're a football fan in this world and you cross over into like doing stuff for TV, they don't rate football fans. They don't like football fans. So when they use you, it's just, you're just going to say this thing about that and then you can do one. And like to have someone then treat you almost like not an equal, but you know.
Do you know that's probably why football fans, us to a degree, and then the pioneers of the industry, Robbie, Poet, Brian, Geordie, whatever, that's probably why, because football fans, as you've just demonstrated there, they weren't really given a mic. They weren't really, people weren't really interested in their opinion. Therefore, people had to do it themselves and create channels and whatever.
I don't listen to this, so I can't
But it
comment.
isn't a
it's
football
a turn off
podcast
for me.
like this,
But
is
it
it?
strikes me as like one of them cringy ones, like that Diary of a CEO, and
Yeah,
that
it's
just
cringy.
cringe my
It's a bit
balls off.
cringy.
Can't be
Yeah,
arsed.
yeah.
I don't think this is comparable.
Self-improvement rubbish, like Andrew Huberman and all that. It's kind of
He
self-improvement.
posted
type.
it.
You could do
Family
that,
WhatsApp
though.
group.
That would be all right. Some self-improvement.
Yeah. What do I need to improve?
You should listen to this podcast.
No, it sounds like I could do with it. In fairness, I mean, I could definitely do
No,
it.
but it's one of them LinkedIn fellas, isn't it? Wake up at 5 a.m. and
Yeah, LinkedIn
by
vibe.
8 o'clock
Yeah,
I've
it's a
done more
LinkedIn
than
thing.
you. While you've
Yeah.
been, fuck off.
Let's just call it a turn off,
have a
lads.
beer,
Let's just call
Yeah,
it a turn off.
I don't listen to it. Certainly not comparable to other football podcasts.
Fozcast. Now, there was a point in time, maybe less so since it's been a podcast. In fact, I have never watched it since it's been a podcast.
No, I've
But
not.
when he just had his GoPro in goal, when he was in the championship with Watford, I watched it an awful lot. And I thought his YouTube channel was very groundbreaking in that to have a active professional footballer at a high level like the championship vlogging what he's doing, I thought that was incredible.
That was
and I
cool.
really enjoyed
That was
it.
Yeah, the access was unheard of, wasn't it? It was unknown. I think it has to be not necessarily as a podcast, but as a YouTube channel, and the insight that you get from somebody who played the game and was playing the game. Again, it's got to be right up at the top, hasn't it?
I don't like the podcast. I'm not.
Robert.
I mean, I'm not listening to it, but anything I've seen of it. Actually, Robbie Williams was on there once, and he said he watches Stretford Paddock on there.
What's that got to do
So
with
maybe
pod-
I do
podcast?
like it.
Well, without the platform, Adam would never have that humble brag.
Yeah. So maybe I do like it.
Fozcast,
No,
let's
I
be
think
real,
as a
it's
podcast,
cringe.
I ain't
and it's
rating it.
cringe.
I ain't listening
Come
to it.
on, man.
Turn it
It's
off.
cringe. Turn
Not
it
for
off,
me.
man. Annoying.
Not for me.
Went to Wrexham.
Actually, as well, Ben
hated it.
Foster was supposed to be on Paddock once, arranged the time, and then stopped replying to messages. So yeah, turn this off. Actually,
Yeah, turn it off.
yeah.
It's cringe. Let's go on to the
Do
club.
you know? Just before we do the club, there's one that isn't on this list who perhaps should be.
Go ahead.
Thogden.
Oh yeah, is it? No, it's not a podcast though.
Not
We were
a
doing
podcast.
podcasts.
Yeah, he's not.
But he's a football.
He's the only one on there with an individual. Everyone else has got a
Bogdan's in a
group.
league of his own when it comes to what he...
Thogden is comparable to someone that we've mentioned here, isn't he?
Everyone
Or-
here is a group that do podcasts. He's not a group. He doesn't do podcasts.
That's actually really
Bogdan
well
would
put.
be in a high tier though.
Thogden be top tier, but he's not here.
I'll tell
The
you what
club.
is top tier. The club.
We actually doing the club. We're actually doing
We
our
have
own.
to do it, mate. If I don't say we're the best,
Turn it off.
who is going to say we're the best? We're the best.
I
No.
think so, the production crew behind
been
it,
about
Jack,
for a
Roven
year.
doing cameras when we've done the big debates, and the likes of Addy coming on, and Miles, and obviously you lads as well. It's right up there.
I would say that it could be top tier if it wasn't for that annoying Chelsea fan.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a City fan. Because he's the one that gets everyone telling us we don't know ball.
No, I would say that it could be top without, gobby Chelsea fans do it no favours. But away from that, there's a wonderful team behind it.
But I genuinely like.
We
look,
definitely have the best
humble
producer
brag, yeah.
in the game.
humble brag here. But and I know we've all had we had platforms before and we were kind of well known before and all that. But inside a year, it was a year on January the 19th last week.
Kid's
Inside a year, to do 178,000 subscribers. How much millions was it? 52 million on YouTube, 140 million across everything else. I know views aren't the most important thing, but inside our first year, and to have the backing of Super Six, I think it's unreal. And thank you to both of you for being there. Thank
Likewise,
you to Jack.
likewise,
Thank you
mate.
to Elliot. Thank you to Cal and Chip and Fellow Studios and all that. And for that reason, I'm putting us in the best. But you two can decide.
I mean, I'm not going to counter it. I think it's quite a generous appraisal, but I like the sentimentality around it and the sort of romance of the comment. So I'm feeling quite moved. So just in the spirit of being emotional, I'm going to agree.
I'll say we're the best, yeah.